and the frustration and the heat that you were experiencing a couple of days ago after I egged Conor.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought you actually glassed him, mate. And that's why I nearly got my hand around your throat.
I understand.
Yeah.
But you did put your hand on my neck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a pass because of what happened, but I'm just letting you know, if your hand ever touches me again, you won't get it back.
Shut your fucking mouth. Do you hear me?
No.
Con, do you hear me? Threaten my dad.
You couldn't look on
Hey, silly bollocks. Threaten my dad again. Watch what happens to you.
The atmosphere is intense as Chris Eubank Jr. sends a strong warning to Nigel Benn during their press conference. Tensions were already high because of the famous egg incident with Conor Benn. But what happened next was even more heated. Eubank Jr. is clearly angry as he speaks directly to Nigel Benn, giving him an ultimatum. If your hand touches me again, you won't get it back. These words are not just a warning, but a direct threat. The tension in the room is so high, and everyone knows that this is no longer about the egg. It's personal. Meanwhile, Conor Benn is furious, stuck in the middle of this verbal fight between his father and Eubank Jr. The moment feels like it could explode at any time. The big question is whether this argument will lead to a physical fight, or if it's the start of an all-out war in the boxing world. The gloves are off, and the real battle is just beginning.
I'm more confident in this fight than I had with me and Chris Senior. I just think that Conor's just going to go out there, mate, and just give it to him, put it on him. And I know he would do that. I'm 100% confident in Conor doing that. I'm so relaxed, so sure. I know what my son can do. He's actually the best, a much better fighter than me. I could never box like Conor. I was just going in and have a bang. I just want to have a war. But Conor's got all him in his locker, mate. Every single thing. I'm so confident. I don't see it going past 4 rounds.
Nigel Benn has made a bold and controversial statement ahead of Conor Benn's upcoming fight with Chris Eubank Jr. Filled with confidence in his son's abilities, Benn has publicly said that Conor is not only better than him, but also a better fighter than Eubank Jr. He even goes as far as saying he could never box like Conor and would have just gone in for a fight, while his son has a full range of skills. Benn is completely sure that Conor's ability is far better than anything he ever had. This is a direct challenge to the Eubanks and a bit of a dig at his own boxing legacy. Benn doesn't just think his son will win, he's so confident that he believes the fight will be over quickly. His prediction: Conor will dominate Eubank Jr. in 4 rounds, leaving no doubt. This isn't just talk, it's a declaration that Conor is ready to end the Eubank Jr. rivalry with precision his father never had. With these words, Benn has raised the stakes and created even more excitement for a fight that could be incredibly intense. What do you think? Like, comment, and share your thoughts on this bold prediction.
What? Like what, you're lucky you're fine. Tomorrow I'll fuck you up right now.
Yeah. You see this guy comes in when I'm cutting weight.
Oh, it comes in when he comes. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow after the fight. I'll see you tomorrow after the fight.
Good. You get in that ring.
Yeah, what? Get in that ring. I'll get in that ring and fucking give it to you.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, mate.
We'll see.
You're fucking lucky you're fighting tomorrow.
You'll see.
You're lucky, mate.
We'll see.
Get your hand off me.
No, it's okay. Let him come close, man. I like this. I like this energy.
The tension between Conor, Benn, and Chris Eubank Jr. is incredibly high, with emotions running wild and words becoming sharp. This isn't just another fight. It's a major confrontation that could shake up the boxing world. Benn, filled with fire and confidence, is calling out Eubank Jr., daring him to bring his best. The young fighter is full of ambition and ready to take down a man who has been at the top for years. On the other hand, Eubank Jr. isn't shaken. He stands strong and calm, letting his experience do the talking. But the underlying disrespect between them is clear. Eubank may have more years in the game, but Benn has the hunger and belief that he's ready to take over. This fight isn't just about trash talk, it's about legacy, power, and the fact that only one fighter will come out on top. Will Eubank Jr.'s experience win, or will Benn prove he's the future of the division? Get ready for a fight that will define the next chapter of heavyweight boxing.
Honest with you, like at the end of the day, the reality is winning is worth a lot more than 100 grand. I think if we do something for charity, whatever, I think it would be nice.
Eddie, he said that he feels that he's getting paid, if not more than Conor Benn, around the same. What do you make on that?
Who?
That was
Ben Shalom.
First of all,
he's making double-digit millions for this fight. If so, Chris Eubank needs to sue him.
The conversation between Ben Shalom and Eddie Hearn got heated quickly, and it's easy to see why. Shalom didn't hold back with his comments, especially when talking about the money side of boxing. He made it clear that, for him, the excitement of winning means more than a big paycheck. He even went further, suggesting that doing meaningful work, like charity, could be more valuable than the money from a fight, but Eddie Hearn wasn't going to let that slide. He responded with a strong statement, directly addressing the controversial claim that Conor Benn could make as much money, or even more, than Chris Eubank Jr. for their upcoming fight. Hearn didn't hold back, criticizing the idea, and suggesting that if Eubank Jr. is really getting paid the same as Benn, he might need to take legal action. The gloves are off, and the stakes have never been higher. This rivalry is quickly becoming one of the most dramatic showdowns in boxing, and there's no telling where it will go from here.
Wasn't a line, but
Do you think it'll be there for the fight?
I think he could potentially be there. Yeah, I don't think it would take too much for him to be there. It's just a few conversations and things to be worked out in between, I'm sure. But yeah, it's obviously a fight that Chris Eubank Jr. is carrying the promotion alone. At the moment. So
Why do you say that?
because he is the one that's engaged the public in this fight.
Harlem Eubank didn't hold back when talking about the upcoming fight, and the behind-the-scenes drama was almost as intense as the fight itself. He made it clear that while Conor Benn might show up for the fight, there are still some final details and conversations to work out. But here's where it gets interesting. Harlem called out Chris Eubank Jr., saying that he's basically carrying the entire promotion on his shoulders. Meanwhile, Benn has stayed more in the background, leaving Eubank Jr. to become the face of the showdown. Eubank Jr. has also taken over the media, engaging with fans and creating excitement like never before. Harlem's comments point out a clear imbalance in how the promotion is going, with Eubank Jr. stepping up while Benn stays more in the background. The truth is, whether Benn is in the fight or not, the entire story is being driven by Chris Eubank Jr., and that's why the focus is on him.
Is a mismatch, the build-up has been a mismatch, and
Is that because Chris is too big, do you think?
I don't think it's necessarily it's obviously the size at a different weight class. In boxing there's different weight classes, and you fight your weight. And Chris is, as well as being bigger, has fought at a much higher level.
On the other hand, Harlem Eubank didn't hold back when talking about the upcoming fight, calling it a complete mismatch in every way, both in the build-up and with the fighters themselves. According to him, Chris Eubank Jr. is on a completely different level. While Conor Benn might be stepping up in weight, the real issue is the huge experience gap between the two. Chris has fought at a much higher level, facing tougher and more experienced opponents, and that's what makes him stand out. Harlem made it clear that while size might matter, it's the level of competition that really shows a fighter's true ability. Benn simply hasn't fought the caliber of opponents that Eubank Jr. has, and this difference in experience will be the key factor when the bell rings. In Harlem's opinion, this fight was never going to be fair. Eubank Jr. has the skill, experience, and power, making it an uphill battle for Benn. The gap is just too big to ignore, and it will be exposed in the ring.
Quite difficult sometimes, especially if you're dry like Chris Eubank. He will struggle to stay within that 10-pound limit. I have a feeling he won't do it. I have a feeling he'll agree to it, he'll pay a fine, and maybe weigh in 15 or 16 pounds over.
Who did he fight recently and it looked like he was completely dead at the weight?
His last fight.
Was it Liam Smith, the first one?
Yeah.
He looked like he looked awful.
Brutal. That's how hard it is to make. That's why I think it's kind of the rehydration clause puts things slightly more into Conor Benn's favour, which is
on the other hand, Carl Frampton didn't hold back when discussing the upcoming fight on the TalkSport Boxing podcast. He raised serious doubts about whether Chris Eubank Jr. will be able to make the weight limit. Frampton pointed out that Eubank, especially when he's dried out, might struggle to stay within the 10-pound weight difference set by the fight terms. He even suggested that while Eubank might agree to the terms, he could end up paying a big fine and weigh 15 to 16 pounds over the agreed limit. Looking back at Eubank's recent fight against Liam Smith, Frampton noted how drained Eubank looked, which made him think making weight could be a real challenge. The bigger issue, according to Frampton, is the rehydration clause in the fight, which he believes works in Conor Benn's favor. Frampton argues that this clause gives Benn an unfair advantage, tipping the scales in his direction and potentially changing the dynamics of the fight. He's certain that the weight issue isn't getting the attention it deserves.
It's a good thing sometimes to have a little bit of weight to train off. Not a lot, but and I think that's what Eubank's got, whereas Conor is already at the weight, or there or thereabouts. So that's also a benefit in the sense like he can now just completely fuel his training and fuel his performance. But it's always going to favour the bigger man. It's always going to favour the bigger man. But age is the biggest factor for me in this fight.
Shane McGuigan isn't shy about talking up the benefits of carrying a little extra weight during training, especially when it comes to Chris Eubank Jr.'s preparation. McGuigan believes that Eubank's strategy of adding weight helps him push himself harder in training, building strength and endurance. Meanwhile, Conor Benn, who's already close to his fight weight, can focus purely on improving his conditioning for the fight on paper. Benn's approach might seem smarter, giving him a more focused and targeted training plan. However, McGuigan isn't entirely convinced that Benn's weight strategy gives him an advantage. He points out that in a fight, the bigger man often has the advantage, and Eubank's extra weight could make a difference in terms of power and size. McGuigan also highlights an important factor: the age gap between the two fighters. Despite Benn's great conditioning, the experience and wisdom that come with age could give Eubank Jr. an edge in the later rounds, where stamina and recovery are key. Eubank Jr.'s experience might be the game changer in this explosive clash.
Eubank Jr. is his own man, and that's what he's always tried to make out. This is me, this is my career, and this is how I do things. Dad, that was your era, that was your time, blah, 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 let me do this. But I'm sure he'd love to have him sat ringside watching him.
Joe Gallagher didn't hold back when talking about Chris Eubank Jr.'s desire for independence, questioning if his drive to break away from his father's shadow is truly genuine. Eubank Jr. has made it clear that he wants to create his own legacy and doesn't want to follow in his iconic father's footsteps. However, beneath all the tough talk, there's a deeper truth. Eubank Jr. is still looking for validation, even if he won't admit it. The reality is, having his father's approval and support would mean a lot to him. It's the uncomfortable truth that no one really talks about. The big question is, can Eubank Jr. truly make it to the top on his own terms? Or will he always be haunted by the legacy he's trying to escape? Time is running out, and the drama surrounding his journey is far from over. This isn't just about boxing. It's about Eubank Jr. struggling with who he is and whether he can stand alone without the weight of his past following him.
And I'm also very close with Conor Benn. He's a good pal of mine, so it's very hard for me to sort of sit back and say this or say that. I think they're doing a fantastic job in selling their fight. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. They both obviously have the needle with each other, and they're both going to give it everything. So be prepared for war, and I hope they get out of the ring safe.
Tommy Welch finds himself in a tough spot ahead of the highly anticipated fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. With close relationships to both fighters, Welch feels the pressure to stay neutral. He shares that Benn has been training at his gym, where they've developed a strong bond, making it hard for him to choose a side. Despite these personal connections, Welch praises both fighters, recognizing how they've built such a strong rivalry and the intense animosity between them. He doesn't hold back, calling this a true war in the making. As the two fighters get ready for battle, they both have everything on the line, determined to prove who is the superior force in the ring. Welch's only wish is that both fighters come out of the fight safely, no matter who wins. This fight is shaping up to be one of the most intense and emotionally charged bouts in recent boxing history.